Let's make a lamb shank Rogan Josh. It's rich, decadent, full of spice that goes perfectly with either rice or bread. All right, so lamb shanks. I've got about 3 lamb shanks that have been cut up to 3 pieces each, right? And you can get this done at the butcher shop. Now, first of all, what we're gonna do with the lamb shank, we're gonna marinate them. But before we marinate them, I wanna roast off some spices. Here I have fennel and cardamom. Now, the thing is about roasting spices, they burn very quickly, so what you want to do is get them out the moment you start smelling them. Put it into a pestle and mortar. Now, to that, I'm adding in some freshly cracked black pepper. I'm going to be adding in some salt. The salt will help sort of grind all the spices together. Half a teaspoon of ginger powder. I'm adding in about a tablespoon of Kashmiri chili powder. Now mix all of these together, pour it into the lamb, and now we're just gonna rub it around. Make sure it's evenly distributed all across the lamb. Now you always wanna make sure that once you defrost your lamb shanks, or if it comes frozen, right, is to make sure that you drain out all that blood that is gonna be in that packet of lamb shank. That way you don't dilute any of your marination. Okay, and now we can set this aside for a good 2 hours before we start cooking this. Now, I've got about 3 tablespoons of ghee. We're adding it to, I'm using an electric pressure cooker. If you're doing this the old school way in a pot in a stovetop, you want to make sure you use something like a Dutch oven or a heavy bottom pot. That way you really get the stew nice and slow. Now, once we put the ghee in, I've got some whole spices here. Cardamom, black cardamom. So we've got the green and the black cardamom in. Mace, cloves, cinnamon stick, and bay leaf. Once you start smelling the spices coming off, now we're adding in our lamb shanks. We're gonna sear the meat until it turns sort of nice and brown before we put everything else inside the pot and close the lid. Right, while we're waiting for the lamb to sear off, I have a little bit more fennel seeds. Now you can skip the roasting process if you're in a hurry, but I highly recommend that you roast your spices, because that way you maximize the flavor and the fragrance from each spice. Here I have about a cup of yogurt. I'm using Greek yogurt, so the yogurt is a little bit thick. I'm adding an equal amount of water. 1.5 tablespoons of Kashmiri chili powder. Ginger powder, this is another ½ teaspoon of ginger powder. Now, fennel seeds are done roasting into the pestle and mortar. See, once you roast the spice, as you're grinding it, you get this really nice aroma. In, mix it all together. Time to turn the lamb around. You sort of want to get nice coloring on the lamb. That way you get nice deep flavor. All right, once you see that the lamb has got nice sort of color, now we're adding in the Asafoetida. Adding it to a dish sort of gives the dish a nice depth of flavor. Yeah, it's used a lot in Indian cooking, making curries, Rogan Josh. It's absolutely necessary. All right, now after about a minute of stirring everything together with the hing, now we're adding in the yogurt. This yogurt is going to give this nice rich flavor to the gravy, and because of the acid in the yogurt, it's also going to help sort of break down the meat and tenderize it as it cooks along. There we go, in. Now to this, I'm adding in a little bit more black pepper, a bit more salt, give it a good stir around. All right, now we're going to close this baby and we're going to set it to the presets that it has. Lock, and it's off to cook. Now, if you're doing this on a regular stovetop, in a good Dutch oven or a heavy bottom pot, reduce the heat to a medium-low, close the lid, and let it go. But you always have to stir every maybe about 10 minutes here, because you don't want it sticking to the bottom. And now, for the moment of truth, I'm always very excited and slightly anxious every time I put something into a pressure cooker and cover the lid, because you know it's different from cooking on top of a stove top where you can actually see everything. Look at that! Oh, that smell, it's just absolutely delicious. The liquid doesn't get reduced, yeah, because everything is trapped in there. But thankfully for this pressure cooker that I have, it does have a sort of sauce thickening function, and we're just gonna set it to 10 minutes and just further simmer down the liquid so that the gravy gets sort of nice and thick and velvety. All right, now you can see that the gravy is sort of nice and thick. Now we can serve. And because this lamb shank Rogan Josh, when you use the lamb shank for a stew, you sort of get the marrow from the bone that seeps into the gravy or into the sauce that gives it this nice sort of thick consistency. Look at how tender it is. Yeah, the meat is completely stripped off from the bone. Here, I've just got some fresh coriander. Do a rough chop. Just all over. And there it is, guys. Lamb shank Rogan Josh. Alright, get some of the gravy in there. There we go. Look at how easy it just comes off that bone, how tender this lamb shank is. Mamma mia! It's got such depth of flavor in this dish, and although there's a lot of chili powder that's in it, but the thing to note is we're using Kashmiri chili powder here, which is a lot sweeter than spicy compared to your regular chili powder. So if you're doing a Rogan Josh, be sure to use the Kashmiri chili powder. And it's brilliant using the lamb shank for a Rogan Josh or for a stew like this, because even the ligaments gets really nice and tender. When you bite into it, it just releases all that flavor from the stew. Absolutely delicious. And the thing about cooking is Rogan Josh, it is going to taste better the next day. So if you sort of just cook it, leave it overnight and serve it the next day, oh my goodness, the flavor penetration into the meat of the lamb is just going to be mind-blowing. I hope you've enjoyed this content. If you did, please do click the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. I know Rogan Josh, it's worldwide popular and everyone sort of got their own version of a Rogan Josh. Well, this is how I make mine. If you've enjoyed it, do share it with your friends. Let me know in the comments down below what I missed or how you do it differently. Take care, guys. Peace. Ciao.